Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Reidox4life Podcast Show. And we're your hosts. I'm Levi, and this is Lamika. Hey, our main topic of discussion is how service providers are making a difference in their community. And today we got a special one for you guys. We have Dr. Dennis Grant.
Grant Dennis.
I'm sorry, Grant Dennis.
Hey, that's okay, guys. That happens a lot. I've actually got three first names, and so it doesn't make it easy on anybody, including me. Sometimes I forget what my name is. No, it's Grant Daniel Dennis, and so it's my mom gave me three first names, and God bless her for it. But that you're not the first one. In fact, maybe even today who did that. So,
Yeah.
but I'm super happy to be here with you guys, and I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for being here with us today.
Absolutely. Levi, Lamika, I appreciate you guys having me on this beautiful Tuesday here in the great state of Arkansas. I appreciate you guys having me and look forward to answering a few questions and hopefully providing a little value to your viewership.
Nice. Thank you for that. Dr. Dennis, I'm sure our viewers would love to know who Dr. Grant Dennis is and what is the one thing you wish you knew upon the onset of your career?
Oh man, so that's always a good one. Being a chiropractor now, an upper cervical specific chiropractor now, 7 years going on 8. Just opened our second office here recently, and one thing that in the onset of my career, I wish I would have known earlier is really, it's really kind of three things put into one. Which having gone to an experiential mastermind recently myself with Dr. David Meltzer. Or David Meltzer and Dr. Sean Dill. One of the things that early on I didn't actually realize. So just kind of a little bit of a backstory is I was a collegiate baseball player for 4 years at Henderson State, small school here in Arkansas, and then after that I went to 4 years of chiropractic college, and so 4 years as a student athlete backed up by 4 years in a chiropractic education program. What that inherently does that I didn't realize at the time is that it indoctrinates you into believing that you must always be right. In other words, you have a need to be right, you have a need to be offended, and you have a need all the time to worry. So a need to be right, a need to be offended, and a need to worry. Because think about it, when you're in a collegiate athlete program, you have to be right, and you have to be good on the baseball diamond, or you don't play. You have to get good grades, or you don't move on, which inherently always creates a need to worry. And then you go into a chiropractic education program where you're all the time, if you don't make good grades, you don't pass, you don't become a doctor. If you're not worried about something all the time, when's the next test? How am I going to make the next dollar and make it through this program? So what it did was it indoctrinated me into the thought process that I have to always constantly have a need to be right, a need to be offended, and a need to worry. And what if I could look back in hindsight now over the past 7 to 8 years of my career, if I could have learned early on that it's okay to not always be right. It's okay to not always have to worry. And it's okay to not, you don't have this need to be offended all the time. And if I would have known that and looking at service providers across the board, I think what we don't always realize is that we constantly have this need to worry or this need to be right or this need to be offended. And what David Meltzer was able to help me conquer was that once you're able to remove that, you're able to remove that need that it's okay to understand that it's okay to be wrong, that it's okay to not always have to worry. And most importantly, it's okay to don't always get so offended and don't always take things so seriously. And so for any service provider across the board, I think if you can understand that we all have that inherent need, we're wired as human beings through our life, things that happen to us. We're wired to think like that. We're wired to be that way. And if you can remove that interference from your life, what it actually allows you to do is reach your potential and learn that when you're wrong, it's actually a lesson. And when someone's offending you, it's a way to grow. And when you're, because I'm certainly not right about everything, and none of us are. And I think that sometimes we get into this perpetual motion that's how we're supposed to be. And so, looking in hindsight back at my career, if I could go back and tell myself something when I started my career, it would be to remove those three needs. And I think if for anybody who's a viewer that's especially in the service providing industry, the more you can do that, the higher your potential is going to be, because you're going to be able to grow more and grow exponentially more than you ever thought you could.
Excellent. Well said. I love that. Dr. Dennis. Man, that is great. So all three of those rolled into one probably, man, created for maybe a lot of confusion. And, prior to meeting, Dave Metzler, who laid out for you that if you reverse that or just flip it, then you would have a better a better life, mentally, and get along with people better. But I understand, man, being a student athlete and the need to be right, because you want to be right in your craft, because you know what, you can get sidelined any minute. So you
In a
want
hurry.
Yes. So you want to be right and on point. You want to be in your assigned spot, speaking I speak in football and basketball language. I mean, even baseball language too. You want to be in your assigned spot. If you're not there, if you're not right in your decision making as a captain, calling the plays and this, that, and the other, you a gonna be a short career for whoever. So I can understand that. But the thing is, you had the wherewithal and understanding and the humbleness to know and accept that, hey, you know what, I'm not right all the time.
It's hard for us to accept.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And you know what, the one thing that I have learned throughout my life is that, just because someone else is upset or offended or worried doesn't mean that you have to internalize that feeling. So understanding that difference, is key. And that's what it sounds like you've understood. So congratulations.
It's retrospectively, is what the person is saying I'm offended by true is step number one. Because if it is, it's a moment of growth. And if it's not a moment of truth, then it's a recollection of that person may be mistaken, and how can I further evaluate how I can better communicate what it is that the misunderstanding is, or a moment of growth. It's either a lesson, a moment of growth, or a misunderstanding in life oftentimes. And so I think that's just a great thing for us all to keep in mind.
Yes. So Dr. Dennis, what is the biggest challenges in your line of work?
Oh man. So I tell people ask, and I'm sure you guys get it too. When somebody asks, what do you do and what's your line of work? And I tell people all the time, I'm a chiropreneur. So I'm a chiropractor by day and an entrepreneur by night. And so the practice of chiropractic and helping people on a day-to-day basis without the use of drugs or surgery is, in my opinion, and I know I'm biased, the greatest work you could possibly, be a part of, because it's what I do. But what it's allowed for me to do is to also branch off and use the resources that chiropractic provided me to move into more of an entrepreneurial role, whether it's investing in Everbowl franchises, or it's investing in growth of new clinics, or it's investing in other businesses. And so truly the as a chiropreneur, as I kind of term that, the largest challenge a lot of times is to stay focused on one thing and not be so scattered, not have so many things going on that you lose the ability to keep focused on those things that are important, those priorities, those non-negotiables, those things in your life that must inherently stay at the forefront in order, so I'm going to give you a prime example. For a long time, my goal and one of the biggest challenges I faced was I wanted to be financially successful. And so I thought in my head what that meant is I was supposed to sacrifice everything around me to find success. And then I retrospectively realized that what I was doing was, if somebody was to ask me, well, how come you want to find success? How come financial success is important to you? I would say things like, well, so I can spend time with my family, or I can support my family, or I can go hang out with my friends. And then what I inherently realized when I turned it back was I'm sacrificing the very things that I'm doing this all for to find the success. And there's an incongruency with that, is when you really ask yourself, and really, to me, what I've come to really realize is that I want to leave a legacy as a human being. I want this world to be better when I left it than when I came, and I want to leave something that's a legacy beyond, that outlives even my life on this earth. And what I've come to find is that for me, that's much more deeper than a financial success, or much more deeper than how many clients you're seeing or how many businesses you own. It's what's the piece you leave when you leave, when you leave this earth, that everybody remembers you for. And so one of the biggest challenges all of the time for me that I find is staying focused on the legacy that I'm trying to leave, that these businesses and these ventures and the success and what have you that life brings you, it's much bigger than that. It allows you to see the bigger picture and the bigger end game in mind all the time. And so for me, it's pretty simple, and that's to affect as many lives as I possibly can, and to take Arkansas from 49th out of 50 in healthcare in America to number 1 in America. and do that throughout the entirety of my life, and do it in a way that's where through people's having clear nervous systems, eating healthy, being active, and being happy, and understanding that their priorities and their non-negotiables in their life are what they do that for, because you can't truly express life without health. If you don't have your health, you can't really express life at its optimal fashion. And so that's what my existence on earth is, to understand that when I leave, the specific chiropractic centers will still be here, serving the community of Little Rock, serving the community of the state of Arkansas, and in our 14 offices around the U.S. and the specific chiropractic centers through our Everbowl franchises all over the earth. And so once you start kind of understanding the bigger reason that you would invest and spend all this time and focus all this energy on these things, is it's for a greater vision or a greater legacy. What it's able to do is remove that challenge from being an obstacle to an opportunity. And that's what for me has kind of always been the challenge. Is it's a daily thing that you constantly try to achieve and grow, and you learn new things and learn from the mistakes and the lessons and those just as much as you do the successes. But I think if you always keep in mind, like for me, the challenge to answer your question was always, what's the end game in mind? What's the focus we're trying to work towards? Because I think once we start losing that, whether you're a service provider, it doesn't matter what your service providing, what you provide as a service, really doesn't matter so long as you don't understand the legacy that it leaves or the bigger vision behind it. I think that's the challenge we always strive to keep focus on. That I would just encourage your viewers, if they're kind of in a stagnant state, or if they're having trouble finding what's the legacy I'm trying to leave, or what's the greater vision for why it is I do what I do, that can be a challenge. And I think it's one of the biggest ones that we inherently have a hard time identifying. And so some of the easiest ways to do that is, what are my priorities? Like, what are my non-negotiables? What are the things in my life that are just, they happen today no matter what, nothing gets in the way? What are the priorities, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's your faith, whatever it is, you have to be super clear with that. And I think that's always a challenge. And it's certainly one I struggle with still to this day, but I've gotten a lot more clear on, which has been able to help me kind of catapult into a more successful category.
Excellent. Well said. Love that. I love that. Okay, with all that reorganizing thinking and this, that, and the other, I'm sure you get a headache from time to time and trying to keep everything straight.
Oh yeah.
And trying to restore the community, well, let me say this. In trying to bring your community in Arkansas, you're trying to move their health care spot up, right in its ranking. And I think that you are you specialize in migraines and this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's your way of leaving part of your legacy
Yes.
in Arkansas. Can you tell us a little bit about how you are accomplishing that specific task?
Yeah, so I authored a book in August of 2020 that was called A Life Without Migraines, a little holistic known method for living a headache-free life. And I wrote that just truly as an inspiration from my patients who were like, Dr. Grant, you need to get this word out and you need to write a book. And so they put the onus on me to get that done. And I felt led to do that and did that. And it was a very difficult thing at the time. I've never given childbirth, obviously, but I'd have to imagine writing a book was like childbirth for a male. It was very difficult getting that to the masses. But what it was able to do was really penetrate the community and take a large, because 1 out of every 4 women suffer from migraines. And one of the things that I was inherently seeing as people were coming in for care is it's the most common debilitating condition of the nerve system is migraines. And it's very common. And it's what's called the invisible disease. It's what plagues people, then you can't really see it, and you can't really understand it until you experience one yourself. And having been a migraine sufferer for years, that still to this day has to battle that. What I was able to see is that it impacts our community at a very high level, and there's really only a couple interventions that are offered that are very invasive. Very life altering. And so I just thought, with the success rate that I see with these and the impact I know it has on the community, I need to do better at being an advocate for this. And so what I did is just brought about awareness to it in my book. And what it's allowed me to do also is disseminate and provide referrals to people all over the country and in fact the world. People who read the book and they see it in London, or they see it in Australia, or they read it in Singapore, and they reach out and say, hey, where can I find a doc who does this? I need help. And being able to be a small piece of them finding the puzzle, the piece that puts them into the right doc's office. And so it's, like I said before, I just never really realized when I wrote it, I was very selfish in my approach to it being a community thing for me personally. But actually what I was able to discover is that it had a worldwide implicating change for a lot of people beyond just me. And so through the hands of other chiropractors, it was able to facilitate growth for other people all over the world. And so, it really had a lot more of an impact than even I first, thought globally, which I think was kind of the blessing in it, was that, I give it away as a loss leader. I use it in my community, as I know you guys are the foremost experts on loss leaders to my understanding. But what I do is I just tell people, grab your free copy, shoot me over your email, your address, your name. I want to send you a free copy to you so you can experience it for yourself. And what it's allowed is for a lot of people to get their hands on it and read it and understand, most importantly, the big idea behind chiropractic and how it helps with this. Kind of talk about some of the misconceptions and the preconceived notions people have towards chiropractic. It sort of eliminates those barriers. And most importantly, matches them with a doc near them. And so when you talk about community impact, it truly is impacting communities all over the world. And I just couldn't be more ecstatic or happy about it. And, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Great. Love that.
Yes. Because of that, in your answer to the challenge that you have as far as staying focused, it seems like to me, like you got it. I mean, you are ahead, you are above, you are in the flow of getting that legacy. And so congratulations to you.
Well, thank you. They're certainly kind for saying that. I very much appreciate that. I'm very much still a work in progress also. I think 1% growth each day makes us all better here in about 100 days, ideally. And so I very much bought into the Kaizen type of mindset, which is a Japanese term that talks about just growth 1% every day. I think sometimes we just really underestimate just even how much we can grow in a year and how much we can grow in one day, how much we can grow in 10 years, and I'm 33, about to turn 34. So I'm relatively young. And so I'm just also trying to learn from you guys and learn from everybody else in your community. And I think we all have a little bit of a percent improvement we can all offer to one another.
Nice.
100% right on that one. Yeah, I got to go right here with that, Dr. Dennis. That's awesome. I love that, man.
So, Dr. Dennis, what habits have you embedded to help you succeed, and what lessons have you taken from them?
Oh man, so I kind of alluded to some of them already, but I think some of the first, most importantly to me, the number one habit every single day that I've been able to adapt is gratitude. First thing in the morning, every single day. I think that's the first one. Is that it's really easy when you're chasing this goalpost of success. What I call is. What I've found is, as human beings, it's very ingrained in us to constantly move the goalpost on ourselves. In other words, once I reach this point, then I'll be happy, right? We're all searching for this end game called happiness. And so once I reach this point, I'll be happy. And then I move my goalpost on myself again. And then I reach that point and I move the goalpost again, right? And it's the perpetual, really and truly, why a lot of times what we've seen in society is that the most successful people are sometimes the most unhappy people. The people who make people laugh the most are the most depressed, right? And it's because their perception of what it is they're searching for in life it's an optical illusion. It's that ocean in the middle of the desert that's not actually there. You know what I mean? And so for me, what I've been able to do is establish a habit, and it's not my own either. It's one that I got from David Meltzer. And that is gratitude every single day. First thing in the morning, show gratefulness and gratitude for something. So this morning I woke up and I sent out payroll to my employees, and I showed gratitude and the ability to do that. I said, you know what, I'm going to be grateful that I have the ability to pay payroll to my employees. I'm going to be grateful for all these patients that are coming in to be checked. So it's just a constant. I think that's a number one habit we all should adopt tomorrow, is just to be more grateful, because man, we are blessed as much as we don't realize it sometimes. And it's hard to adopt. We are all blessed. That's number one. Number two is to be a servant to somebody today. Whether it's somebody I take care of that's in my office, whether it's somebody I interact with in the community, whether it's just showing, serving on the board of a nonprofit here locally, whatever it is, it's constantly looking for ways to be a servant and provide service in the light of being a servant. In other words, how can I be of service to somebody today? Right. I know it sounds very cliche, but I think those are two that I've noticed that are the toughest to, they're the easiest to implement, but they're also the toughest to keep on track because they get taken for granted so often. Is number one, how can I be grateful today? What am I grateful for? Two, what can I be of service, or who can I be of service to today? And then the third one, which is kind of my favorite one, is how can I reach my potential today? What can I do to max out my optimal potential today? Whether it's, maintaining my non-negotiables like my health and getting a workout in, or eating a little bit better than I should, or whatever it is, it's what is hindering me from reaching my full potential today. And what can I implement today that will allow me to reach my full potential tomorrow? Tucker Max, who helped me write my book, 2 years ago, who's a very influential person in society, says that his definition of hell is dying and meeting the person that he should have become, or meeting the man that he could have became.
Yes.
And so I just thought that was so well stated so many years ago when I heard that. And I think that actually might be my biggest nightmare is one day leaving this earth and then coming face to face with the man I was meant to become, and essentially falling short of my potential, falling short of being a full servant, falling short of being grateful, And so I think for me, those are the top three that I try to instill every single day. I try to keep a top of mind awareness. And then, a piece of that too is, and what lessons do you learn from it, is that what it does is it reveals the lessons every day. If you look at things from an attitude of gratitude, and if you look at things from a place of service and reaching your full potential, what you realize is that your failures and the things that don't work out for you are in some ways protecting, promoting, and teaching you something. And I think that's what the lesson I've learned from it, and using this everyday strategy, is that it reveals to you where places you can grow, people you can better help, people you can better serve, how you can be a better man, a better father, a better husband, a better person. And truly then you look at things as not as losses or negatives or failures, but as lessons. And if you constantly look at things from a place of gratitude and potential, and reaching optimal potential, it's one of the coolest things to me about living life every day, is you never know what your next challenge is going to be. It's what makes life fun to me, and ultimately what allows us to ultimately be happy is that every single day, if we can achieve that, then we'll be happy, because we've done our best. We've done what we can do. We've learned from the lessons. We've shown gratitude. We've been a servant to the earth instead of being, a taker. We're a giver. I think if that's what we can develop habits every single day, at least for me anyways, has been a game changer. And I think any viewer who's kind of trying to look for a new purpose, just start tomorrow doing 3 things. Be grateful, look for more ways to be a servant, and then look for better ways to reach your optimal potential. I think you're going to find that works for you pretty well.
You sure? That is so right. Man, I need thank you so much. That is awesome, man. We love this. We love this feedback and this give back. And this is coming from a place of gratitude. We're thankful that you joined us today. So that would almost sum it up as that would be the one thing you would want to leave with us all.
That's it. Yeah. And then maybe one other thing, just in a final word, is as we're entering the holidays, as we're entering a time of for a lot of people, sadness. I think the holidays, what I've seen is that holidays can be difficult for some folks. It's great for others, but it's a difficult time for some. And I think part of that is because it's surrounded by family, and it's surrounded by times of sorrow for a lot of people, stressful times, is that I would just encourage all viewers who are watching this that no matter what you're going through, no matter how great it is, or how great you think it is, or how bad you think it is never as bad looking back on it in years past than you feel like it is now. And that I just encourage anybody who's in a place of kind of in what I call no man's land of kind of not sure what next year holds. I think as we enter this season, just remind yourself that that go visit third world countries, go and visit other places. I'd encourage you to do that, because what you'll begin to understand is that, man, we are so blessed here, and that sometimes you just showing gratitude to somebody impacts them far more than you could ever understand. And I certainly hope that you guys have an awesome holiday that we approach, and a fantastic and successful year 2023. I know I'll see you guys at many BDC events and look forward to seeing you guys at those. And of course, if there's any way I can help you guys or any of your viewers in any form or fashion, not sure how that would be, certainly reach out to me at Dr. Grant Dennis on Instagram or Facebook. Shoot me a message. I just would like to try to help anybody I can in any way possible, make 2023 the best year possible.
Nice.
Excellent. Yes, you're so right about that. We love it, Dennis. Amen. We appreciate you again, man. We thank you for joining Thank you for joining the Reidox4life Podcast Show. Okay, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, hey, we're your hosts. I'm Levi, and this is Lamika. Thank you for listening. And Dennis, Dr. Dennis, hey, we wish you all the best and your family's best, and much success, man. We definitely
absolutely. And Happy New Year to you guys and Merry Christmas, and look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Yes,
Thanks for having
definitely.
me.
Yes, definitely.
Bye-bye.